if 50% of builders will go out of business by year 5, that statistic has got to change. And I'm telling you, it's because they do not make enough money. Now, there might be cases where some people make too much money, then they go and buy a fancy truck and a jet ski, and then they go and take that $15,000 holiday or whatever the case is, and all of a sudden they find themselves in trouble. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guys and gals that are very diligent and work very well within their means, but are still not making it work. That is what we've got to change as well. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I'm the CEO here at Smith & Sons Remodeling Experts Canada, and I'm your host. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. Great to have you along. Just some housekeeping to get started. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you wish. That would be awesome. Maybe even give us a rating, because I think that'll help us, chat with more builders and get more builders, in and around the Business for Builders group, which is awesome. Don't forget to go and check out the Business for Builders VIP Facebook group. It's a private group. If you hit the button there and you're a good sort, I'll let you in. Just keep in mind, we're not about just dishing up, and overloading you guys. We really need that's a community. So B, there should be some collaboration, of course, between you, the builders, because we all act as islands, see there's some camaraderie there. So if you happen to bump into some guys or gals locally to you, then, obviously we can start developing, those communities in your local area, which would be powerful. So spread the word, folks, because us builders, we have a hard time, and we're islands, and 50% of builders go broke in 5 years, and we want to try and change that statistic for real. So today, as usual, don't forget, if you want to get at me, go and check out elitebusinessadvisory.com. I'm really doubling down on delivering coaching services there. Hit the book a consultation button if you want a Zoom call with me for 30 minutes, and I'd love to catch up with you and just, chat about your business and what you're struggling with, and possibly look into some coaching services directly there for you. But also, if you want to just chat with me generally about anything, business related, specifically Max at businessforbuilders.ca, or you can zoom across to our businessforbuilders.ca website, hit us on the contact form, and I'll get it on my phone. Right. Okay, so this is episode 150. It's quite a monumental moment. We're not doing anything special. However, having, dealt with a bunch of guys so far, this year, where there's all different cross sections of inquiry and demands and experience levels and things like that, I really want to break it down. So what I'm going to quickly do, we're gonna shoot a series right here, and this is going to hopefully generate more questions. That's always a good thing. Questions are the answers, guys and gals. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a series, I think you're going to like this, on how I would go about putting together an estimate and proposal for a kitchen renovation. And so, I think there's, like I've said it before, and I've probably brushed over it, and I did consider trying to do a full expose on how I would do a kitchen estimate and sell it and all that sort of jazz in one episode. And then I quickly moved to, we should do a few parts around this. And this might generate, something where I might hit the whiteboard perhaps, or maybe there's, questions about software, or maybe there's questions about some tools and resources, some checklists. I know one guy had a question about a selection sheet, and I've got to get back to him, because what we're working on is what we call an interactive selection sheet, because it's terribly difficult to get the information from the client in a very streamlined, systemized, and convenient manner. And we are working with one of our software providers to try and put that together. And it's proving to be a challenge, but we're going to work on that. So, side note: if you want more information about a project management software, I want you to email me at max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. And just shoot me your first name. Obviously, you'll hit me with the email, and maybe a cell number so we can have a chat, or we can get on WhatsApp. That's the other thing too. The number on that Elite Business Advisory website, that phone number there is my WhatsApp number. So feel free to shoot me a message on WhatsApp, and I would love to chat with you that way. Matter of fact, a bit of a shout out to a young fella in Turkey. His name's Ali. And he's a bit of a hustler 14 years old, and I actually caught up with him on a Zoom call yesterday purely because he actually sent me a message via video, and I really respected the hustle. So shout out to Ali in Turkey over there, and it's good to hear from you, champion. So keep up the good work, and here's to your success. Okay. Right, so here's what we're going to do. I don't know how many parts this is going to be, so I'm going to call this part 1. This is a series on how I would go about a kitchen sale, let's say, and I'm going to talk a lot around pricing, because if we could just go to a database and go, right, that kitchen is going to cost that much, then we wouldn't find it as difficult. The problem is every kitchen, every client, every project potentially is different. That's why it's got to be case by case, which really then moves me to the fact is, why do we not have a systemized approach, let's say, to a kitchen estimate or a kitchen sale? And then furthermore, why is it that we don't charge for our quoting services? So this is the kind of thing I really want to provoke some thoughts in your mind that compel you to either leave comments or hit me up on email, because you're like, yes, Max, I don't know. And, it's funny, chatting with one of my prospective elite business clients in New Zealand, shout out to Jacob if he's listening, we talked about some stuff, and he's made some immediate changes, and it's awesome, because I think he's starting to break ceilings. And guys, the quickest way, I think, to avoid going broke and to make more money is to start breaking ceilings. I think when you get caught in this is the way we've always done it syndrome, you actually you cut off your ability to now grow your business. So you can't come to me and say, Max, I want to grow my business, but I want to keep doing cost plus, and I still only want to charge up I want to do markup by 15%. Like those two, your idea and your vision and your dream and your why, your actions aren't mapping to that why, and we will have a problem, Houston. Okay, so we need to make sure we do that. So look, we want to really go through in this series, because I don't know how many parts we're going to do. We're going to try and keep each episode to about 20 minutes, which would be a miracle if that happens, and just really try and break it down into some fairly granular, I think this will help a lot of guys and girls. And then if it compels you to sort of go, oh, there's a gap in my program, or I don't understand that, or yes, I need proper software because I'm selling Excel spreadsheets and Word documents they're just not good enough, because they are so labor intensive, because you have to double entry data, and then you've got to put it over here and put it over there. It's a really clumsy way of doing it, guys and girls. So if that's what you're doing, fine, just keep doing that for the moment. But I want to tell you that there is definitely a better way to organize your business in that regard. Right. So part 1, I like doing these kinds of podcasts because it's not something that I've got to kind of create. All I've got to do is try and organize my thoughts in a very strategic way, and really because it's just something that I do. It's what it's what I fed my family doing as far as being a builder, and so it's very natural for me. So what I want to talk about in part 1 of this Quote a Kitchen Reno, that might be the name of it, Quote a Kitchen Reno. Yeah, there we go. Tips, strategies, part series. Whatever it is, how to quote a kitchen reno. I'm going to talk to you about the site visit and the meet and greet. I think what we've got to do is not run straight to I want to do a measure up, which we will get to for sure. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that we set the foundation. So what I'm going to try and lean into a little bit is the sales process. Now, if you're a Smith & Sons franchise general contractor, in your operations manual, it maps out clearly in flowcharts and scripts and diagrams on what it is that we're trying to achieve on the first phone call, in the first meeting, in the consecutive meetings, all of these types of things. So it's very much you've got to kind of, I don't want to say relearn, but I think you've just got to increase your understanding of what is the best practice, and so that's what we're going to focus on. So, a couple of contextual items. We're going to assume that we are on our first phone call. So I don't even want to get started on how you generated the lead, although that could make for a pretty interesting series as well. But I'm going to assume that you've got a top of funnel inquiry, which you know nothing about other than what they might have sent you on your contact form on your website, or they might have jotted a few, names, a few pieces of information in one of your Facebook ads or something like that. And just a side note, if you're going to go and do advertising on Facebook, you got to make sure that it drives to a learn more page, and then that page will, provide some basic information on what to do. I know that we get what we find works a lot is a chat bot that's actually on our web page, and that actually comes up in my business suite as a comment now, or as a comment or a question, that little chat bot down the bottom right-hand corner of our website. And then what we've got is we have an autoresponder. Now, I'm not all about that because I don't believe it delivers customized service, and I kind of like that. But I understand, we've got to either automate or detonate. So we've got to either create automated systems or we've got to, get rid of that process. And so we definitely have, if you could do this, you could mess with me. If you want to do this, I'll tell you what you do, just to give you some insight. Go to the smithandsons.ca website, find that little green chat bot down the bottom right-hand corner, and go, "Hi, Max, I'm doing a chatbot test." And then leave your name and, whatever. Just tell me what you're doing, because that will show you the auto response that's generated. Now, what you'll find is there's going to be a phone number. It's going to tell you to go to the contact us page, things like that. And what that does is that then drives traffic to our inbox. So we redirect them to our contact page, and then it actually pops up in our system as an email, and then we enter that into our system, and we forward that contact or that lead to our general contractor. So that's just a bit of a side note. Now, so we're assuming that when we get the said lead, we look at the thing and we're going to assume that it's our preferred client profile. Guys and gals, you need to understand who it is that you want to talk to, because there is certain people that are outside our preferred client profile or our client avatar that I know straight away are not going to be a fit for my company's services. That's the way it is. To give you a bit of a basic idea, people between the ages of, say, 45 and 75 is probably where we would start. I'm not saying we don't rule out anything outside of that. And normally they're going to be successful business owners or successful corporates that might have owned their own business or certainly own their own home. So we get a bit of a feel for, different types of people. The more you talk to people, the more you start understanding, and the more people that you work for that you wish you didn't work for starts helping you to find, where you're up to as far as your preferred client profile. So we're going to assume that you're talking to the right person or the right type of person, and we're going to assume that you've got on the phone there and you've chatted with them about their budget expectation and what they love and hate about their current kitchen scenario. Now, let's just back up slightly. So let's talk about, how do I talk about budget? Because I know that builders, it's ironic. We're such extremists. We hate talking about budget, and then we whine that we're not making any money. Well, okay, we got to, if you want to bring about, some massive change, you've got to take massive action. So, like my old mate down in New Zealand, he's like, "Oh, Max, it's great. I upped my markup, percentage, and what else did he change?" Anyway, he said, "I didn't quite have the, I didn't quite have the gall to ask to get paid to do the quote." And I did send him back a series of messages letting him know that we don't ask to do a quote. We've got to demonstrate value and what provides peace of mind and security to the clients, and then we can ask for it in a different way. And so I'm going to quickly talk about maybe how we do that. But certainly the budget expectation. So I've said this before, and I might have even just covered this recently, but the idea is that I don't want to drive out to their home, and it could be close, but it could be 45, 50 minutes. Like, I don't want to go driving down there to go, guys, we don't want to go take the phone call, book the meeting, do the site visit, run back to the office, do the estimate, present the estimate, and you've not talked about money. You've not talked about budgets. Because if you come in, I got a communication from one of my guys yesterday, and he literally drew a line in the sand. He says, "Mate, kitchens are now $100,000. See, we would provide them, let's say, a kitchen lead through our digital marketing, and then we would send them what we regard as a forecast build value, because we're tracking the not the number of inquiries only, but we're tracking the dollar value. Because if you want to run $1 million business, I've got to get you. I'm aiming to deliver at the high, to the number of about $5 million worth of leads. So I've got to track every time there's a kitchen come in. We would put down a forecast build value of about $75,000. Now, if it was a bathroom, we'd probably say $25,000. Now I got a memo, whatever. Finding Nemo. Yeah. I just got that message, and he said, "Look, from this point onwards, it's $100,000 for a kitchen reno." So that might enlighten you, guys and gals. Now that's on Vancouver Island. Your area might be different. You might say, "Max, you're never going to get that. That's impossible." Blah blah blah. Okay, fine. Well, then you need to figure out how and where you can demonstrate more value to increase your transaction price or the contract price, right? So that's pretty key. So let's try and stay on track here, but we're talking about having the budget conversation. Now, I need you as builders. I know you're kind of rough and ready, and I understand and I feel for you that you've not had the kind of sales training that you need, and I respect that. So here we are. We're trying to just turn the ship a little bit to try and increase the amount of profit that you bring into your house. And I say this a lot when I'm talking to my coaching clients. I can show you how if I move the needle 10%, I can we probably in some cases can start to generate some profit, which is amazing. But that's in the construction business, that's a pretty basic maneuver. What my end goal is to not have you now marking up 30%. So if you've been marking up 15, 20%, then that's quite a jump. That's a 30%, that's a 50% jump. So that's great. But really what I want to move you into is, there's no point in guessing. I want to move you into the realm where we know that you need to be as a builder, and where it is very achievable so long as your preferred client profile is who you are speaking with. And that's the challenge, okay? And I like the fact that if you're going to take a step up to a 41% markup on all your materials and labor, and then you're at 20% right now, I respect the fact that that's a big jump, and it's probably impossible for you to A, believe in, and B, demonstrate the value to clients to really give you the confidence. Because people fail to sell well because they don't believe in what it is they're selling. And unfortunately, guys and gals, we sometimes second guess our own skills. We undersell, our own knowledge. And I think we've just got to, not be disrespectful and not be arrogant. But guys, if 50% of builders will go out of business by year 5, that statistic has got to change. And I'm telling you, it's because they do not make enough money. Now, there might be cases where some people make too much money, and then they go and buy a fancy truck and a jet ski, and then they go and take that $15,000 holiday or whatever the case is, and all of a sudden they find themselves in trouble. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guys and gals that are very diligent and work very well within their means, but are still not making it work. That is what we've got to change as well. So we're chatting with the clients on the phone, and I say this. It's like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, for your kitchen, after I've had a conversation on the phone with them. And I tend to have a fairly long-winded conversation, as you might understand the fact that I can sit here and talk to that little black dot over there and do it for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes. It's a little scary. But you can imagine if I've got someone to actually talk to, we're going to get it on. And I think that's just a side note, it's key. You've got to be relatable. You've got to be able to build rapport. And so if I'm dealing with an executive, I am going to mind my P's and Q's, and I'm going to be very professional in my approach. And I'm not saying that someone who's not an executive doesn't get my professional approach, but I then don't want to come across to someone that's run an engineering firm and is the kind of guy that gets into the office at 6:30, rolls his sleeves up, and he's very hands-on, he's very practical, and he's borderline blue collar. I don't want to talk down to him. I always want to meet people at where they're at. So I really want to make them feel comfortable whilst they're dealing with me. Now, further to that, I want to come across as the authority, but I don't want to come across as arrogant either. So remember, questions are the answers. That's key. So when I'm having a conversation about budget, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, I understand where you're coming from. First of all, I've really put budget expectations first, but I really needed to talk to them. A great way to break the ice is to say, so tell me everything that you love and hate about your current kitchen. Now, normally I'd save that conversation in great detail for the site visit. There's no question. But they will automatically, I think, start throwing up about their current setup and what they want to change. So it's not going to be hard. But you don't want to get caught on the phone, them trying to wag the dog and them trying to sort of give you all the information. You're like, time out, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. I'll tell you what, here's what I subscribe to. Set the agenda. And if you're listening to this and you've received from me, an email about maybe you've already done one little strategy session with me, for no cost, of course, and then we've moved into a complimentary coaching session, you'll know that you'll get an email and I will outline the agenda, okay? So if I get a client that calls me on the phone, in some cases, I will interrupt them and go, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, I just want to quickly let you know, the purpose of you talking to me right now is just to, confirm a few details, and then I can't wait to really get amongst it with you, and you can tell me all about what you love and hate. I just want the overview, and then we can work out a few bits and pieces, and then we can see whether or not, I'm going to pop out and take a look at your project. So always reserve the right to decline the lead. And we've done this we do this a lot. It's like, unfortunately, we're not in a position to provide a bid for your project. We trust that you can, find a general contractor that can help you out. All the best with your project. Send. Like, we do that. And I've done that face-to-face as well. So this is where that's an uncomfortable thing to say. There's no question. But this is all about, you do not have to provide a bid or an estimate or a quote or anything for everybody's inquiry. You just don't have to. And this is why you need to be selective. But if you're going to be selective, you got to make sure you got good top of funnel as well. Otherwise, you're going to run out of people to quote for. So this is how it works. And I know it's not comfortable for you at this point, but you just got to understand that this is how the ball bounces. This is the game, okay? So when we're talking about, if I said, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, do you have on your kitchen that you want to reno? You've explained to me a little bit about what's going on, and it is fairly standard. However, there is some nuances, and it's always a case-by-case situation that I have to investigate as the builder to make sure that I understand clearly what it is your end game is and what the outcome is that you want. So do you have, in your mind, do you have a budget expectation? Now, before they answer, I will probably say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, look, you don't answer that. You're not a builder. Now, hopefully they're not a builder. If they're a builder and they're asking me to give them a quote, it's kind of, that's a red flag, just quietly. I don't know, I'm going to get into that. But look, I would say to them, look, you're not a builder, and I actually haven't seen your project. So it's hard for both of us to figure out what that number would be. But let me just share with you, using the word tell is offensive subconsciously. Okay. So if I say, let me share with you, all of a sudden it's sort of like, okay, this guy is not, he's actually going to give up some information, or he's going to, literally share with me something that I'm not going to pay for. Anytime we can get something for free, it's a good deal. So it's like, hey, let me share with you. Now, this is the key. Based on my historical data and based on my experience, we find that the average kitchen, the average kitchen renovation will start at about $75,000. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, or Mr. Homeowner, how do you feel about that? Oh, well, Max, that's a lot more than what we thought, and we're just not sure whether or not that's really what we want to spend. Now, at that point, you could start justifying your number. But I want you to understand that silence is your friend. And so what I like to do is I like to get clients just chatting about their project. And so, sure, they'll come back and they'll say, and, the caveat is buyers can be liars. I'm not going to say all buyers are liars, but, they're going to play their cards close to their chest, and they're going to tell you things that maybe aren't quite the truth. But I understand, and so they should, to a certain degree. I mean, at the end of the day, how many, HGTV horror stories are we going to listen to? But, we've got to make sure that we're sort of hearing the clients, but be comfortable when there's silence. And then I would, if they say, oh yeah, Max, well, it should be 50 grand. And I would say, hey, can you share with me how it is that you went about coming up with that number of 50,000 for that kitchen? Now, whatever the numbers are for you, but I know that at 75 grand, that's our entry level. And then just wait for them to talk to us. And a lot of the time they say, well, we just kind of Googled a few things and, da-da-da-da. And what it does is it really does break down that wall of distrust. And I've always said this, whenever you go out and see a client, the wall of distrust is up. And it's just the way it is. It's the game. And so we have to build trust. And so, I think just getting that budget question. Now, at that point, if they come back to you and say, look, Max, it's more than what we thought or expected, but I think we can, we have the funds or the financial wherewithal or capability to do that, but we just need to understand, a little bit more in detail, why we would end up spending that money. And that is a buying question, guys and gals. And so when I go out there, I know what my mission is. It's to demonstrate value, right? Demonstrate value. And so the more you demonstrate value, the more likely it is that you will develop a relationship you can then, go to contract on. So really, we've not really got through too much in 20 minutes, other than, giving you some heads up around, what you need to do on the first phone call to protect your own interest, to get some good understanding of what the budget's going to be, a little bit of rapport building, and then you want to book that meeting. So look, I'm going to, it's painful for me to cut it off right now, guys and gals, but I want to break this down into a bunch of parts. And so on the next part, I'm going to talk about what we do when we go to that meeting. We're going to talk about, what it is what's my objective. And so we're always playing the end game. And so we're looking at the different stages. And this is why it's so important. I'll conclude with this. This is why it's so important that, if you've ever talked to me on a video call, I'll say, do you have a documented sales process? 99.9% of guys and gals do not have anything that has been designed. No flow charts. No, nothing with milestones, no scripts. There's no tactical approach to the sales process, and then we wonder why we don't do it terribly well. Think about it, guys and girls. I said this on I think I said this on the Q&A, and there's some stuff floating around TikTok. It's like we wouldn't go and build a house or go and do a reno without a plan, and yet we'll go and build a business or try to build a business without a plan. So please start thinking about a tactical approach to sales. Now, what you don't know, and I think that's where kicking in with some coaching from yours truly would definitely. And I'm doing as much as I can here, but I think when it comes down to it, there's two variables. It's you as a person and your type of business. And I really can't cater to everybody, on a podcast or on a YouTube video. So, look, that's where we're going to leave it. The next part, we're going to talk about site measurements, site pics, how to offer design and quote proposal services. So we're really going to have to nail down exactly what we do in that meeting to ensure that we do gather all the data, the appropriate information, and then talk about what the client can expect. We don't want to leave them in the grey, okay? So get across to Business for Builders VIP Facebook page, hit the join button. We'll let you in there if you're a good sort. We're going to build that community, get some collaboration happening and some camaraderie. We want to make sure that if you've got any questions, you can access me. And I think the best email going forward now is max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Check out that website as well. And don't forget that number on that website is my WhatsApp number. So feel free to hit me on a message there. And then if you're on that website, book a consultation. We can shoot the shit for 30 minutes. I want to make that terribly productive for you and I. So I'm always going to have an end game, as you can appreciate. So look, and please don't go and book a consultation with me if you've got no intentions of showing up. And I'm sure most people want to show up, but no shows even happens to me. So let's respect each other's time and have a good time whilst we do it. Look, is there anything else I've forgotten? I think that's about it. Leave some comments, hit the bell. Thanks for you to subscribe, and maybe even leave us a rating if you're feeling happy about what's going on here. Have a great week. Have a great day. Go be profitable. Go build that kick-ass business. We will see you on the next episode. Cheers.